Hi everyone, I'm Sophia from the USA. Please like and subscribe to SDA. When I was little, I'd always wanted to be like my parents, high-achieving scientists. But as I grew, I realized I could never because I sucked at everything. Driving lessons, sports, school.
Another F, Sophia.
So, I gave up. My parents were often disappointed, but they always tried to be understanding.
You'll do much better if you just put in the effort.
I wish it was that easy, but being used to failure just had a way of making me feel insecure about myself and everything. In school, I was even known as the unpopular loser.
Hey, loser! Disappear! We need this spot! Is your name written on it?
That was Heather, the smartest girl in my class, and her dumb, super rich boyfriend, Cameron. I never understood what she saw in him. He was way below her standards. He gave me a mean stare, and I just left the table for them.
Whatever. I was done eating anyways.
After school that day, I headed home, and on the way, spotted a new antique store that I'd never seen before and walked in to look around. I mistakenly bumped into a shelf of figurines, and everything clattered to the floor. I apologized to the owner as I picked them up.
I'm so sorry. You look like you might be going through something. Talk to me, child. What's wrong?
I don't really talk to strangers.
Especially ones who looked mysterious and sniffed at people like creeps.
I'm no ordinary stranger. I can sense a bad aura around you. So many failures.
She was right, but how?
How did you know that?
You'll find out. I have just the thing for you.
The woman disappeared behind her desk and brought out a weird figurine of a man with marks on his face and something like a small horn protruding backwards.
What's that?
It's a very special, important artifact. It'll take care of all of your failures. Have you ever heard of Eshu, an Orisha of the Yubora tribe in Nigeria?
No. What about him?
Before the woman could say anything more, someone interrupted, and she became preoccupied with him, so I had to leave. That night, I did a little browsing and found out that Eshu was a powerful god of change, fate, duality, crossroads, a few more things, but there was one constant in every source I checked. He could alter a lot in a person's life, like my grades. Wait, there's more. Eshu can also cause bad change. Well, that's a downer. Was the artifact safe to use? But the good outweighed the bad, and it was super tempting. Well, I'm sure the bad was something I could handle. I had to use this.
Please help me score better grades in school and make me so popular and confident.
I got a piece of rope from my jewelry bud and tied the artifact around my neck like a pendant before I slept off. I woke up the next day feeling extremely confident and better than ever. The artifact's magic was working. I dressed up for school and couldn't even recognize myself in the mirror. At school, everyone stared at me in shock, and it only made me feel more confident. In the classroom later that day, the teacher gave a pop quiz, and guess what?
Dan, a C. Frankie, a B.
Wait for it.
And Sophia, an A.
I had scored an A! OMG! This artifact was my good luck charm. After class, I headed to the cafeteria and found Heather taunting another student as usual. I was filled with so much confidence as I approached her.
Hey, leave her alone!
Or what? You can't do anything.
I grabbed a plate of pasta and splashed it on her face, and she looked so furious.
Ah! You ruined my makeup!
After Heather left, I faced the girl she had been attacking.
Hey, are you all right? Sorry, I can't hear without my hearing aid. I'm deaf. Thank you for saving me back there. I'm Lottie, by the way.
I'm Sophia. Why did you let Heather push you around?
Oh, I'm new here, and I only wanted her to show me around. I didn't know she'd be mean.
Well, I can show you around if you want.
Really? Thanks!
As promised, I showed Lottie around, and from there, we became really tight friends and were practically inseparable. The school term finally came to an end, and I made it to the top of my class. Mom and Dad were so happy that they got me tons of gifts.
We're so proud of you, baby girl. We got you presents.
If only they knew about the artifact. I felt like a fraud deceiving my innocent parents, but I couldn't tell them the truth, or the smiles on their faces would disappear. Everything felt like it was going so well for me, and it made Heather mad.
Hey, loser! I don't know how you suddenly went from an F to an A, but no one takes my spot. Maybe just study harder instead of being a meanie. Stay out of my spot, or you'll hate crossing me.
Heather walked away and I just scoffed. I guess she wasn't used to taking second place. The next week, I was feeling lucky, so I decided to rekindle my love for science once more and take part in my town's science fair. I came out as the overall winner with a whopping cash prize of $2,000.
And the winner of this year's science fair is Sophia!
Congratulations, honey! Don't be reckless with your money. Save it in a bank, all right?
At school, I became so popular that I practically overthrew Heather from her throne. And I decided I was going to use some of my money to throw a big party. I had to prove to everyone my loser era was over. Lottie and I spent the whole day discussing plans.
I think I'll rent a fancy mansion for the party. That'll cost a lot of money.
I can always get another.
Why do you sound so sure?
I figured I could trust Lottie, so I showed her the artifact. It's an artifact of the Yoruba god, Eshu, in Nigeria. He can change a person's life and fate.
Do your parents know about it?
Nope, I can't tell them.
And they don't have to know about this party either. Promise me, Lottie? Promise. But at some point, you know they'll find out, right?
I'll handle that when the day comes. Anyways,
Come on, we have to share these flyers around school.
Lottie and I got to school and shared the flyers around. And later, when we finished, we were spending some time in the cafeteria when Heather and Cameron approached us.
Hey, heard you were having a party. Where are our invites?
I thought that was pretty obvious. You're not invited. The words flowed freely from my mouth, and I felt like it was because of the artifact.
You'll regret saying that. Come on, Heather.
Cameron grabbed Heather's hand, and for a moment, she pulled her arm away like she didn't want to go with him. But he grabbed it, and she just went along. That was weird.
Good riddance. They don't own this school.
The next day, I dressed up in my party clothes for the party. The pendant on my neck didn't match my outfit, so I took it off and carefully placed it in my handbag. Then, I wore a large coat over my dress to hide it from my parents.
Mom, Dad, I'm going over to Lottie's. I'm staying the night, so I'll see you tomorrow.
Why are you dressed in a coat?
It's a little cold outside. Don't want to fall sick.
All right, honey. Be safe.
Phew, that was close.
As soon as I got out, I took off my coat and headed straight for the party. And it was so fun. That wasn't until the crazy couple, Cameron and Heather, crashed it. Like, literally, crashed into it with a car.
I'm calling the cops on you two. You almost hurt everyone. I warned you.
To my surprise, Heather ran towards me and started begging.
Please, don't call the cops. Cameron didn't mean it. We're sorry.
Seeing her apologize for the first time ever gave me such a power trip, and I just couldn't help the next few words that came out of my mouth.
Prove you're sorry. Say, you're my queen, Sophia, and I'm such a loser. Here, in front of everyone.
To my surprise, Heather said the words.
You're my queen, Sophia, and I'm such a loser. Good. Now, leave my party and never come back.
Cameron looked furious, but Heather grabbed his arm and pulled him away.
Come on, Cameron.
After the crazy couple left, I turned around to face an upset Lottie.
You didn't have to go that far with Heather. It was mean. She and Cameron deserved it. They crashed my party, but you didn't have to turn into her to make a point.
Come on, Lottie.
I could never be like Heather.
I convinced Lottie I was on my best behavior, and after a while, she cheered up.
Fine. Can I keep my phone in your bag? I don't want to lose it.
I gave Lottie the bag and just kept dancing. The next morning when I got home, I noticed the artifact was missing from my bag. And after spending hours searching, I realized who must have taken it.
Where is it? What are you talking about? My artifact! Don't act like you don't know! Isn't it always around your neck? It was in my bag yesterday, which I gave you. You're the only one I told of its powers. Stop acting dumb! That's not a nice way to talk to a friend. A thief isn't my friend. Took only a little popularity and some cash for you to turn into a meanie too, huh?
Lottie furiously banged her locker door in my face and stomped away, and I was so mad at everything. I needed to cool down, so I went into the bathroom. And after a little while, Heather and a strange older lady walked in. I didn't want to be noticed, so I tried to stay as quiet as possible.
Mom, Cameron is crazy. I don't want to be with him.
Shush! Do you want to ruin the business deal I have with his father? It was just a car crash into some silly party.
He almost hurt someone and destroyed people's stuff.
Why are you so difficult? All you have to do is date the dumb boy and help him with his scores since he can't even spell his own name.
But he's a psycho. I'm tired of pretending to everyone that I like him.
You'll pretend for as long as I want you to. Also, you need to come right at the top of your class again. You're starting to look stupid to Cameron's parents. I can't afford that. Do you understand?
Heather's mom sounded so mean, and I felt so bad for the way I'd treated Heather in the past. As soon as her mom left, she fell against the toilet sink crying, and I just wanted to come out and comfort her. Until her stupid boyfriend walked in with a long stack of books, which he dumped right in front of her. The nerve!
Go away, Cameron! You look ugly when you cry. Anyways, I have some more assignments for you. I need them by tomorrow.
Who did he think he was? Seeing him speak that way to Heather made me so furious I stepped out of my hiding spot.
Hey, jerk! Why don't you go away like she asked you to? You again! No one's here, so I'll just deal with you once and for all!
Cameron tried to attack me, but Heather suddenly stood between us.
If you don't go away, I won't write your assignments!
The threat seemed to work because he glared at me before he turned around and walked out of the toilet. Heather turned towards me.
You didn't hear or see anything here today.
Then she grabbed Cameron's books and followed suit without even glancing at me. Throughout the day, I tried to catch her alone and succeeded when I found her in an empty class.
Hey, are you alright? Just because I stood up for you to my jerk of a boyfriend doesn't mean we're friends.
I had no idea what you were going through, and I'm sorry for making your pain worse.
Oh, don't be the goody-goody two-shoes now, queen.
All day, I felt so guilty about how I treated Heather that I didn't even notice the cops and my furious parents standing in front of my home.
Miss Sophia, you're under arrest for vandalizing the properties of a mansion rented to you for a party.
What are you talking about? Cameron was the one who crashed the party, not me.
The cop didn't even listen to me as they placed me in handcuffs and took me away. My parents couldn't look at me once. They later came to the station to bail me out that night, and the ride home was really quiet. As soon as we got home, they faced me.
Heather told us everything, and we're so disappointed in you. An artifact and a party? Really? You lied to us. We didn't bring you up that way, Sophia.
Jeez, they were right. I was a horrible person. I broke down into tears.
I'm so sorry. Everyone made me feel like such a loser. I just wanted to prove you all wrong. I didn't mean to hurt anyone.
Oh, honey, you're not a loser. We've never thought you were one. We just wanted you to believe in yourself and do better. You don't need an artifact for that. You just need yourself.
I love you too so much.
Mom and Dad's words comforted me, and after a while, my tears subsided.
There's someone you need to see. She really cares about you.
Mom and Dad left the room, and Lottie walked in. Overwhelmed by my emotions, I hugged her.
Lottie, I didn't mean any of those things I told you. I know. You were kind of right. I did steal your artifact. But it was only because I wanted to help you.
I don't understand.
I looked up Eshu, and I know he likes to show the two sides to everything. You got everything you wanted, but you also became mean and unlike yourself. You even started lying to your parents.
I'm going to fix everything.
Lottie's words made a lot of sense to me, so the next day, we decided to return the artifact back to the antique owner.
Welcome back, child. You look better than the last time you were here.
Thank you. I just wanted to return this. It gave me what I wanted, but I also turned into a bad person.
Oh, child, that was all you. Not this fake replica artifact of Eshu. I sensed an aura of insecurity around you and figured you needed something to boost your confidence. It was all a mind trick.
I couldn't believe my ears. Everything I won was all on my own, and the people I hurt in the process too.
Wow, Sophia, that means you must be a genius.
Everything felt too good to be true, but there was one lingering question on my mind.
Who are you?
A fortune teller.
Thank you for helping me discover myself.
After that day, I became better and started to put effort into everything I did. But there was one thing left: Heather.
Heather was the student with the highest score.
After class ended that day, she approached me.
Did you fail yourself to give me a higher score? What? That's ridiculous. You're bad at lying. Thank you, I guess. And I'm sorry about being mean to you and your friend. I wanted an output for my anger, and I used you to. You didn't deserve it. Just like Cameron doesn't deserve you. You're right. I need to end things with him. I'll be with you as your support. If his parents or your mom try anything, we can sue them with some of my lottery money. Thank you so much, Sophia.
Heather later ended things with Cameron, and to everyone's surprise, she became close friends with me and Lottie. We were like the Powerpuff Girls. Together, we all graduated at the top of our class, and I grew up to be a scientist just like my parents. Effort really pays off, guys. You just have to try. The easy way out isn't always the best way.
Hi, my name is Latoya and I'm from the Caribbean. I never expected I'd have the school bully wrapped around my finger. If you're new here, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. When I was 5 years old, my parents died in a car crash and I was sent to live with my grandmother. That's where I met Keegan, my best friend and our neighbor. In our town, everyone knew we were pretty tight-knit. I loved our quiet little part of paradise. In 4th grade, everything changed when the Pillage family came to town. They bought a few of the stores and turned them into large shopping malls. Not only was our town no longer quiet and peaceful, but the Pillage's son, Victor, was in my class, and he became the school bully, even to the teachers. During 5th grade, Victor stuck a sign on my back which said, "Pinch me." Every person I passed in the hallway that day pinched me until Keegan pulled it off. Once, on a field trip in 6th grade, Victor locked me in the bathroom. The janitor unlocked it about 30 minutes later, and I got detention for a week for separating from the group for over 5 minutes. Can you believe it? Then, in 7th grade, during the talent show while I was singing, Victor rigged a bucket of ice water to fall on my head during my Stella performance. I was sick for 3 days. In 8th grade, he stuck glue to my chair, and when I stood up, my skirt ripped. The entire class laughed at me as I shimmied out of the class with books covering my behind. I had to wear boys' pants from the Lost and Found. Ew. It didn't matter what Victor did, he always got away scot-free because his parents donated large sums of money to the school. One summer, Keegan and I sat on the swings in front of Grandma's house. I wish I didn't have to go back to school. I can't stand Victor. Why can't they just send him to a boarding school or something since they have all that money? Victor isn't so bad. Isn't so bad? May I remind you of everything he's done to me since his family set foot in this town. Before I could ramble on, Keegan leaned sideways in the swing and captured my lips with his. When we pulled apart, I was breathless and speechless. My, Keegan chuckled. I think I found the secret to snatching your words away from you. I pulled Keegan in for another kiss, and it was his turn to be speechless. I've had a crush on Keegan since I was about 5, but I didn't want to ruin our friendship. I was just happy that he felt the same way about me. That summer, Keegan and I were inseparable, and Grandma kept telling me it was just puppy love. I couldn't wait to walk to school hand in hand with my new boyfriend on the first day of school. But that didn't go as planned. When I got to Keegan's house, his mother, Mrs. Hines, said he'd already left. When I got there, I realized his hurry to get there. His tongue was wrestling with Harper. What the freaking heck, Keegan? I thought you were my boyfriend. Latoya, did I ever ask you to be my girlfriend? No. Harper, will you be my girlfriend?
Sure.
And they began to kiss again right there in front of me. I ran all the way to the girls' bathroom and hid in a stall. I heard a notification on my phone and checked it. A shiver ran down my spine as I played the video. Someone recorded what just happened between me and Keegan and posted it on social media. A tiny logo on the side of the video read Victor's Videos. I stormed out of the bathroom in search of Victor, and when I found him, I wanted to punch him in the face. I found Victor chatting with a group of boys. Victor, you jerk! I swung at him, but he sidestepped and I landed in the bin behind him. He and his friends laughed and walked away. This year was supposed to be my best year yet. It was only the first day and already my year had gone to trash. Or so I thought. One day, the district superintendent, Mr. Flynn, was to pay a visit to the school. Our principal, Mr. Burns, ensured that the school was spick and span for his arrival. That's when I saw Victor spray painting a picture of the principal with his finger up his nose on the back of the school wall. Victor spun around. It seems as though you're somewhat in a predicament here, Victor. I wonder what Mr. Burns will do if he sees this video. My lips curled into an evil smile. I've waited for a day like this forever, and I wasn't gonna let it slide. My parents own this school. I can do whatever I want. Okay, I shrugged and walked away. Later that morning, when Mr. Burns found the painting, he was furious. He called an emergency assembly to address the school.
The person who vandalized the school wall needs to step forward immediately. The longer you wait, the worse your punishment is going to be.
Mr. Finn shook his head and grabbed the mic from Mr. Burns.
This is a very serious matter, punishable by law. When you are caught, the police will be called.
I spotted Victor in the crowd and his face was white. After the assembly, he approached me. Name your price. I thought your parents owned the school. Name your price. The price is you, Victor. Enjoy today because tomorrow, you're mine. I patted him on the shoulder as I brushed past him. The next day, boy did I have fun bossing Victor around. He had this coming for years. I made him do all my homework, feed me at lunch, and wipe the side of my mouth, and give me piggyback rides to class. I also made him apologize to every person he'd ever been mean to. I don't want to do this anymore. Victor looked at me after 2 weeks. What will mommy and daddy think about their perfect little boy being dragged away by police officers? I don't think that'll be a good look for their business. Do you? Victor cringed, then went back to feeding me grapes. One afternoon, while walking home from school, Keegan rolled up beside me on his skateboard. Hey Latoya, how have you been? I ignored Keegan. Come on, babe, we used to be such good friends. I heard that Harper dumped you. According to her, you don't have what it takes to keep her. I looked Keegan up and down. You witch. Keegan pushed me into the road and skateboarded away. I heard the sound of a horn followed by screeching tires and a bang. I opened my eyes to see a car smashed into a tree. It must have skirted away to avoid running me over. I ran towards the car. It was Mrs. Hines. My eyes clouded with tears as I flagged down an oncoming car. Please, help her! I screamed. It was Victor. Victor and his driver hopped out of the car. While the driver called for help, Victor held me. Once Mrs. Hines was safely in the ambulance, Victor offered me a lift home. We sat silently in the back seat as tears continued to stream down my face. Keegan's mom could be dead because of me. Well, also because of Keegan, since he was the one who had pushed me onto the road in the first place. Victor took my hand and held it until I reached home. Thank you. I hopped out of the car and ran inside to tell Grandma about Keegan's mother. Unfortunately, Mrs. Hines didn't make it, and Keegan had the audacity to blame me. I thought Victor was bad, but Keegan was 1,000 times worse. After what happened to Mrs. Hines, I had a change of heart towards Victor. I figured life was too short to keep enemies. I preferred to have friends. Here you go. What are these? Cupcakes. I baked them myself. Do they have laxatives in them or something? No, silly, I just wanted to say thanks for what you did a few days ago. And I'm releasing you from your servant duties. I promise I won't tell anyone that you painted the principal on the school wall. Victor and I heard a gasp behind us, and we spun around. So, you're the culprit, huh? Latoya may not tell your secret, but I will. Keegan, you can't. I can and will, but I'll make an exception if you give me a kiss right here and right now. I stepped towards Keegan and he smiled. I was about to kiss him when Victor pulled me away and punched Keegan in the stomach. The boys wrestled on the ground until Keegan was able to get away from Victor. I'm gonna tell Mr. Burns, you're both going to pay for this. Keegan sprinted in the direction of Mr. Burns' office and Victor and I chased behind him. The three of us burst into Mr. Burns' office at the same time. I was the one who painted the picture of you on the wall. I blurted out before Keegan could say anything. Keegan and Victor were chased out of the office. A few minutes later, a police car arrived and I was taken to the station. Shortly after, Grandma arrived at the station, followed by Victor and his parents who looked furious. I watched as Grandma pulled Victor's parents to the side and chatted with them. Victor stared at me from across the room, but he didn't make any attempt to come towards me. Grandma and I left 15 minutes later, but Victor and his parents were still chatting with an officer. Later that night, the doorbell rang and I answered. No one has ever stood up for me before, not even my parents. Maybe it's time to change all that. Before I knew what I was doing, I leaned forward and kissed Victor. I was super happy when he kissed me back. Suddenly, I was yanked away and I heard the front door slam. After what that boy just put you through, you're standing out there kissing him. You better get some sense quickly, Latoya. You need to stay away from that boy. He's a troublemaker. But there was something about Grandma telling me not to do something that made me want to do it even more. So, I did. Victor and I began to spend a lot of time together before and after school. I thought finally life was going to be smooth sailing from now on, but it definitely wasn't. At the championship congratulatory party for our football team, Keegan approached the mic. First, he congratulated the school on their team win, and then he said something that changed my life forever. I have a question for the crowd tonight. Have you guys and gals ever dated a member of your family? The crowd began to boo and jeered at Keegan as cups and soda cans made their way to the stage. You guys and gals might think it's gross, but Victor and LaToya don't think so. Victor, my man, how does it feel to date your niece? Victor and I looked at each other, startled. The crowd booed us and began to throw trash at us. They chased us out of the school compound. Do you think what Keegan said was true? Nah, babe, I think he's just messing with us. We got to Grandma's. Let's go inside. I'm gonna ask Grandma. Victor hesitated, but he followed me inside. I found Grandma in the kitchen. What is he doing here? I'll answer your question if you answer mine. Why did Keegan just make an announcement to the entire school that Victor is my uncle? Grandma seemed shook. She sat on the chair and folded my arms across my chest and tapped my foot. Well, we're listening. Grandma sighed. Then she explained everything. When Granddad was away on business for 2 years early in our marriage, I had an affair and had Victor's dad. I didn't want the baby to ruin my marriage, so I put him up for adoption. All this time, my father has been mistreating me because of his abandonment issues that you caused? But why didn't you say something after Granddad passed away? Because I didn't need to. It's my business. We're dating, Grandma. I've been dating my uncle for 6 months. Victor is not your uncle. He's not his father's son. His father got into an accident as a young child, and because of it, he'll never be able to have children of his own. I spun around to speak to Victor, but he was gone. I ran out of the house and saw him running down the street. Victor, wait! Victor hadn't heard that last bit that Grandma had said. Victor still thought he was my uncle. I had to tell him the truth.
Stay away from me and stop making up stories about me. Please stop following me around like a lost puppy.
I couldn't believe that Mason could say such mean things to me. What happened to my best friend? I walked away with my head low, ignoring the laughter and whispers from everyone in my class. Hi, my name is Amy. 10 years ago, my best friend Mason moved away with his family. Now he's back, but he's not the Mason that I used to know. Wanna know why? Watch till the end. But first, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Also, hit that notification bell so you don't miss more cool stories.
OMG, he's like so hot.
My friend Chloe was practically vibrating in her seat.
Oh please, he'll be mine by the end of 3rd period.
Sam, my other friend, rolled her eyes. What are you guys talking about? They both looked at me like I'd grown 2 heads.
Have you been living in a cave? Sometimes I wonder how you'd survive without us. There's a new guy in school. We saw him at the principal's office. Please let him be in our class.
Chloe put her hands together and looked up at the ceiling. Just then, the door opened and a tall boy with blonde hair walked in.
OMG, OMG, OMG.
Breathe, Chloe.
Class, I'd like you to welcome Mason Greenwood. He transferred from out of state.
Mr. Radish, our math teacher, announced. I knew that name. Mason? Oh my god, is that really you? Everyone stared at me.
Amy? Amy the piggy?
The whole class laughed. Yes, but I don't go by that anymore. As you can see, no more pigtails.
Of course. Wow, look at you. You look so different now.
I blushed a little. Chloe and Sam were watching us with their mouths open.
Mason, please sit. You and Amy will catch up later.
He took the only available seat in front of me. I didn't pay attention to Mr. Radish for the rest of the class.
Start talking, piggy.
Math class just ended. Chloe, Sam, and I stood outside waiting for Mason to finish talking to Mr. Radish. Don't call me that. Mason and I grew up together, but he moved 10 years ago.
Where did he move to? Heaven? Because they must have been missing an angel.
I'm no angel.
Mason laughed as he joined us. Oh God. I'm so sorry. My friends can be annoying. Sam rolled her eyes and pretended not to notice Mason standing right next to her. After a few awkward minutes of Chloe introducing herself to Mason, Mason and I excused ourselves and left.
So, Chloe,
I'm so embarrassed right now. She's not always like that, I promise.
I actually liked her energy.
Don't let her hear you say that. She'll declare you her boyfriend.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
We're both laughing now. Well, I guess it depends if you like wearing matching socks and drawing hearts on each other's notebooks. Mason visibly cringed. I thought so.
It's so good to see you again. How have you been? How's your mom?
Over the next few days, Mason and I spent a lot of time together. I invited him over to dinner and we had a great time remembering the good old days. Remember when we snuck out and you crashed your bike by Wickery Bridge? Mason looked confused for a minute but then smiled.
To be honest, I don't remember much from back then. It's part of the reason I decided to come back. I didn't want to completely forget this place, and you.
That's so sweet. We're glad to have you back.
Thanks, Mrs. Anderson.
After dinner, we went for a walk. Come on, you have to remember that night. You hurt your knee so bad you ended up in hospital. You had a huge scar here, see? I looked at his knee and was surprised to see that the scar was no longer there.
You're staring. More like drooling.
I'm not. The girls and I were watching as Mason and the rest of the basketball team practiced. He had joined the team about a week ago, much to my surprise. Mason never had any interest in sports, let alone basketball. Things had become a little bit tense between us after our walk that night. He looked uneasy around me. Whenever I brought up something from our childhood, he changed the subject or became very moody.
Amy, look! When did that even happen?
Mason was kissing Tracy, my sworn enemy. Tracy lived across the street from Mason and I. When we were kids, she made playing in our neighborhood a nightmare. She teased Mason about his braces and his glasses. Sometimes he'd go home crying. She's the one that came up with the name Amy the Piggy. Mason told everyone that the name was because I always had my hair in pigtails, but Tracy said it because I was fat. 10 years later, she was still just as mean, if not worse. How could he kiss her? I stood up and walked past them. Tracy looked at me and smiled. So did Mason. That evening, our doorbell rang and I ran to answer it. What are you doing here? Shouldn't you be across the street with Tracy? Ugh, I hate that I sounded jealous.
Come on, Amy. She's different now.
Wow.
Anyway, I just thought we could hang out a bit. What do you say?
What happened to your scar?
I'm getting tired of this. Can we hang out or not?
You didn't answer me.
Unbelievable. You know what? I tried. Goodbye, Amy.
He walked across the street to Tracy's house. Something was off with him. I could feel it. I just wasn't sure what. At school the next day, I saw Mason walk behind the library and jump over the fence. I followed him and did the same. I was no athlete, but I'd jumped over that fence a lot of times. At first, I thought he was going home, but a few hundred meters from home, he turned onto a deserted dirt road. The only property along the road was an abandoned factory. When he got to the factory gate, he stopped. An older guy was leaning against the gate, smoking. A car was parked nearby. I hid behind the wall and watched them.
What took you so long? I've been here an hour.
Basketball practice. Come on, let's go in.
I still don't get why you had to go and join that stupid team.
High school is boring. I need to occupy myself.
Whatever. Did Amy stop asking questions?
The mention of my name startled me and I took a step back. I stepped on a rock and fell.
What was that? Is somebody there?
My heart was beating so fast.
Come on, Joel, let's go.
I heard car doors open, then close a few seconds later. I peered around the corner and saw Mason and Joel disappear into some buildings. They were carrying 2 duffel bags. A few minutes later, they walked out without the bags. After they drove off, I thought about going in to check what was in those bags, but I didn't want to risk getting caught, so I left. Joel didn't look like the warm and fuzzy type.
Earth to Amy.
Chloe and I were in my room working on some assignments. She shut her book and stared at me.
Okay, talk.
I wasn't sure if I could trust Chloe with what I'd seen.
Amy, you're scaring me.
It's Mason. I saw him do something suspicious. Probably illegal.
What? When was this?
A few days ago, I followed him to the old factory by Raven Road. I told her everything. By the time I was done talking, Chloe was dialing Sam's number. What are you doing?
Hey, Sam, you need to get to Amy's right now.
Sam arrived half an hour later.
You want to tell me why you made me rush here like you guys were on fire? Sorry to disturb your beauty sleep, princess. We have a mission to get to.
Chloe filled in Sam on everything as we walked to the factory. When we got there, it was already dark and we had to use our phones as flashlights. The girls followed me to the building Mason and Joel had disappeared to a few days ago.
If I see a rat, I'm out of here.
We walked in and out of several empty rooms. Guys, look! In a corner, partially covered by rubble, were 2 duffel bags. Chloe ran and opened one of the bags. She dropped her phone and walked backwards.
Please don't say someone's dead in there.
I shone my flashlight towards the open bag. It's money. A lot of it. Probably millions. I opened the other bag and found even more money.
I don't like this. We need to get out of here now.
Should we call the police?
I don't want any trouble. Let's just leave.
We bolted out of there and didn't stop until we were outside the factory gate. When we got to my house, Mom told the girls that it was late and they needed to go home. That night, I had nightmares of Mason being a two-faced monster who took off his face at night. Yeah, no thank you. The next morning, I told Mom everything.
We need to call the police now. You should have told me last night.
Half an hour later, a police officer rang our doorbell and asked Mom and me to follow him. We arrived at the factory a few minutes later. I led them to the room with the money, only when we got there, it was empty. The money was gone.
Are you sure this is where it was?
Was there any money at all, miss? You know how kids are nowadays.
I knew that voice. I turned and blood drained from my face. It was Joel standing right behind my mom. He was in a police uniform. But I saw you. You and Mason put the money here a few days ago. You're a police officer?
This is Officer Callahan. He was transferred to our station a few weeks ago. What are you accusing him of?
He was here before. Him and my friend, neighbor, Mason. They took the money from a car and carried it here.
Amy, that's enough. Let's go now. We're sorry we wasted your time, officers. I'll make sure Amy never does this again.
But Mom, you have to believe me. I saw him.
Enough. I won't have you make false accusations about me. You're clearly a disturbed girl.
I ran out in tears. What on earth was going on? The next day at school, I knew I had to talk to Mason. I was sure of what I'd seen and I wanted to find out what was happening. Mason, can we talk?
Stay away from me and stop making up stories about me. Please stop following me around like a lost puppy.
I couldn't believe that Mason could say such mean things to me. What happened to my best friend? I walked away with my head low, ignoring the laughter and whispers from everyone in my class. I skipped school the next day. Chloe and Sam called, but I didn't pick up. Mom was so mad at me, I thought she'd ground me for life. Honestly, that would be fine with me because I was never going outside ever again anyway. An hour later, I was outside. There were loud noises coming from Mason's house. Before I could talk myself out of it, I ran all the way there. Mason, are you in there? The door opened and Mason ran out.
What now?
Is everything okay? I heard shouting.
For God's sake, Amy, leave me alone. Go back to your house before...
Who's in there with you? I pushed my way past him and walked into his house.
You shouldn't have done that.
Joel stood by the window looking down the street. He sounded so calm and cold. I knew immediately that I was in big trouble. I turned to walk back outside, but Mason stood in my way.
Why couldn't you just leave me alone? I don't know how Mason was ever friends with you. You're so annoying.
I knew it. Who are you? They both laughed.
She never stops, does she?
You have no idea.
I'm calling the police. When I took out my phone, fake Mason lunged at me. Get away from me! Somebody help! I screamed at the top of my lungs. He tried to cover my mouth, but I bit him and kept on screaming. Loud knocking came from the door.
Police, open up!
I slipped out of fake Mason's hold and went for the door. I opened it and ran into someone's arms. Let go of me!
Amy, calm down. It's me, Mason.
I looked up and stared into hazel eyes and glasses. Mason?
Yes, it's me. Are you hurt?
I hugged him as I cried. It's so good to see you. I thought I was going crazy. The door opened and police officers walked out. Joel and fake Mason were in handcuffs. One officer was carrying 2 duffel bags.
Ivan, what are you doing in my house? And you are? I'm Mason. This is my parents' house. That's Ivan, my friend and neighbor back home. And that's Joel, his stepbrother. They robbed a store and skipped town. Why is Joel in police uniform? He's not an officer. We know that now. Police in your town tracked them here. They arrived this morning and asked for our assistance arresting them.
Mason and I stood at the bus station saying goodbye. It had been a crazy couple of days. The police had recorded our statements and assured us that Ivan and Joel would not be released anytime soon. Mason told me that his parents had sent him to check on the house after they received an electricity bill from the power company. The house hadn't had a tenant in months. When he arrived, he saw police cars outside. I don't want you to leave.
I have graduation coming up and so do you, but I promise I'll come back, okay?
Okay, are you still planning to go to college here? Before he left years ago, we agreed to go to the same college a few miles out of town.
Yeah, I was planning to surprise you, but I think you've had enough surprises.
I sure have. Well then, I'll see you in a few months.
You bet.
I couldn't wait to have my best friend back, the real one this time.